Hi, and thanks for tuning in to our live radio show. Moments of Clarity with Tiffany will begin in just a few moments. Please stay tuned. Kindly take this opportunity to share this show on your platforms because change can only come when we stand together as one, especially when it comes to ending the stigma on mental health.
You are not alone, and help is out there.
Kids have mental health issues, and we also need to learn coping skills.
Let's get started and let the show begin. See you soon.
Don't put yourself down, time for a change. Believe in yourself, time to rearrange. Be your best friend, bring hope to your day. Lose your critic, get out of your way. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, you're so alive. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I'm Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and your host. And I've got a wonderful guest, and we're waiting for Tan Talk Radio to chime in. But in the meantime, I'll just kind of informally introduce her. But she's all the way in Mexico. And welcome, Heidi Dunstan. Welcome. What part of Mexico are you in?
Hey, Tiffany, thanks so much for having me. Right now, I'm in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Is it pretty down there right now?
It's beautiful and hot. Yes. Grateful to be here.
Well, I'm grateful for having you here all the way from there. And come to think about it, that's another country that's been on Moments of Clarity now. I don't know. I know I've had Puerto Rico, and a lot of the islands. I don't know about that part of Mexico.
Fun. That's exciting. Yeah.
I'm a Canadian. Kind of hit all the country. I'm sorry. What did you say?
I'm a Canadian and I winter down here just because I love Canada, but I don't love the climate in the wintertime.
Yeah, you definitely have the Canadian accent and live in Mexico, gotta do. I want Ed to unmute whenever you can. Hi, Jason. Lots of love from India, from Jason.
Hi,
and Joe, a good friend of mine too. Both of them are friends. Thanks for joining us today, and invite your friends to watch the live show, to watch the show. Please do. And you can also call in with questions, 866-826-1340. And it's on the screen here, but I'll tell you throughout the show as well. It's good to see everyone here. And I have to say hi to Melissa Kent from Clearwater, Florida. She's where I'm at. It's easier to say than where you're at, Heidi. Just thanks for coming on with us, Heidi.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
She's a good sport too. I kind of fell behind because my son had a birthday and a lot of stuff going on. But got her the information. She was like, "Are we still doing it? Or do we need to reschedule?" And I'm like, "No. Jason says to Heidi, so great to see you, Heidi. I remember that chat over Clubhouse with Tiffany about moving to Mexico.
Yeah, I've been here since the end of November, so kind of settled in. It's been great.
It took a second. We were talking, and I said, he was like, "Is Heidi the florist?" And I was like, "No, that's Tracy Reynolds." I think.
Yeah. No flowers in my world.
Ed, if you kindly unmute so I don't miss my radio cue, then we can get started. Whenever he.
For Lola O'Brien, the Irish Hawaiian, at the Tan Talk Radio Network.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network. Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about grief and loss, and how to overcome it from a grief educator who's also suffered through grief and loss herself. And before I formally introduce my guest, I want to say hi to Ed behind the glass. Ed, how are you?
Hey, happy Thursday to everybody.
Happy Thursday. You happen to just tell me what day of the week it is, every day. Every Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy Friday. Happy Thursday.
I thought about messing you up and maybe saying hi, happy Friday and see if you catch on to it or not,
I don't know, but one time I said happy Halloween, and you're like, Tiffany, it's Thanksgiving. Like, you help me. You catch me.
Okay.
It's just after 7 years of doing this, it's kind of like, I just know what you're going to say. And then usually you have something on your desk I can prompt on, like a little Yoda, or like, I don't know. Where's the Moment of Clarity cup mug that I dropped off? And you're like, oh, yeah, see.
Oh, it's on my desk. And it's funny. I thought of you last night because, I'm watching the next chapter of The Mandalorian, which is not really The Mandalorian. It's the book of Boba Fett. The child made an appearance last night.
You brought out
so
Yoda?
He's back on the new series. So because they had me, it was four shows in, and I had lost interest. And I said, if it doesn't change, I'm not going to watch anymore. And they must have heard me.
That's one of the episodes that I entered the Ambies with. Was that with the comedian Rebecca Cuchin, and you had your little baby doll like Yoda, and I was talking about how it must have affected his self-esteem to have to say things backwards. Like just anyway,
I'll bring him tomorrow.
That would be funny. You should. It's going to be Kirkpatrick Miller on tomorrow, so it'll be fun to have props. But anyway, so this is Ed. Ed, say hi to Heidi, and
hi.
And everyone, you're welcome to call in 866-826-1340. Say hi to Ed when you do. And Ed, Heidi is a grief educator after becoming a widow, but she's a best-selling author, certified grief educator, and has a passion to help others learn about grief, how to support people who are grieving. And so we're going to go on further to introduce, but anyone, 866-826-1340, please call in and say hi to Ed when you do. So, along with best-selling author and certified grief educator, my guest's experience came firsthand after losing her husband unexpectedly in 2018. And dealing with loved ones saying the wrong thing or completely disappearing showed her that many people have never learned how to grieve. It's so true. She believes that grief is love and that it should never be done alone. She teaches people what to say and what not to say to grievers. This is going to be good. And giving them the tools to learn to grieve so that we can grieve with grace. Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, Heidi Dunstan. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Tiffany.
Those are some really big topics that a lot of people need to know. I don't know if you know about me. I became a mental health therapist after losing my parents when I was young and had to grow up on my own. So I know about grief in the 5 stages and what I hated people saying to me and what worked. So I'm looking forward to this because there's a lot of people that don't know what to say to someone after they've lost something. And there's a lot of people I've interviewed, that have been on the show before that are widows. And they're like, then people stop inviting them places and they're like, well, might be a widow, but it's not contagious. We still like to go places and things like that. So welcome to Moments of Clarity. And let's hear your story. What got you on this journey? I know that you lost your husband. So like, if you mind talking about how'd you lose him and what happened and started that journey.
Yeah, so I'm really grateful I had my husband for 4 years. I met him at a personal development seminar in 2014, and we became really good friends, best friends, and eventually that kind of kindled into a relationship, and we started dating, and we were common law. He was living with me for a few years. We were talking about getting married just a few weeks before, and yeah, we had Christmas, spent Christmas with his family, spent Christmas with my family, and that in between Christmas and New Year's, that time is always a little bit of a bit of unsettled, like, what do you do, right? So we both are entrepreneurs. He owns his own company. I own my own company. And we were like, do we work today? It was December 27th. And he was like, maybe I'll work in the afternoon. And I had heard rumblings that he had scheduled or planned a big surprise birthday party. The next day was my 40th birthday. And so somebody had just accidentally told me. And I said, so how many people are coming to this party? He's like, well, 40, because you're turning 40. And I said, okay. And what are we feeding said people? And he's like, chicken wings and cake. So I said, maybe we could go to Costco this morning and get those chicken wings and maybe
40 people because it's their 40th birthday. What if one didn't show up? You'd be like, you
know.
ruined it.
Maybe I'll stay 39 forever. But anyway, we went to Costco. We came back, and he had a massive heart attack in the driveway. And literally, like, my last words to him, he was moving his truck to another spot so we could bring the other vehicle in with lots of all the groceries. And I came out. I dropped some groceries off on inside of the door and came out, and he had collapsed in the driveway. And my husband was a retired fireman. He'd spent 30 years with Calgary, Alberta Fire Department, and thankfully we live across the street from the fire hall. And so I called 911. I started CPR. They were there in 3 minutes, and they worked on him for over an hour between working on him in the driveway in the ambulance and then at the hospital. And he just couldn't come back. And literally my life.
Did he have heart problems before that too?
Well, he has a family history of heart disease that he hadn't really dealt with. So I found out after he passed that his doctor was wanting him on medication and wanting to do some testing, but he had declined. So, which is quite common, unfortunately.
Did I catch that he died on your 40th birthday?
The day before my 40th. I was 39, yeah.
While he was planning the party?
Yeah. So we had 40 people have to find out that the party was canceled because we lost our person.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he's well loved by many. I mean, when you're in a fire department for that long, and the personal development seminar that we met at is like a big, huge family. I mean, we've been in touch with so many people with Christmas and then him planning this party and just the holiday season. You're in contact with so many, and it just didn't make sense that he was here one day and gone the next, like that fast. And none of us were expecting it. None of us had any idea it was coming. And it was a big shock to our community. And literally my life changed and stopped and turned inside out in an hour. Yeah.
And sudden loss is so hard. I especially sudden. I lost both of my parents, but I found my mother on the floor. She had a brain aneurysm, unexpected. Sudden loss. And then my father, I had lost both grandparents, and then as my father, all within like a 4-year span. And my father died from Agent Orange, but cancer from Agent Orange from being a Marine in Vietnam. But the sudden one is the hardest to take when you're like not expecting it, and all of a sudden that survivor guilt kicks in, like the shouldas, the wouldas. I was young, so of course I was a teenager, and or and all the things that you wish you would have said and are probably said, like you beat yourself up, like I think I yelled at her for putting butter in the mashed potatoes. Are you trying to make me fat, mom? Like that kind of stuff. That like resonates with you for a while when they just kind of disappear, and you can't. But then I became a mother myself, and I realized the parents don't care. Like they still know the kids love. It's just we understand. But so yeah, so then the worst part, I was thinking, the aftermath was that pity grief, like where everyone's like, "You okay?" and all of that. So you had 40 people waiting to say that to you. How did you handle that?
Yeah, it was difficult. I mean, it was between Christmas and New Year's. It happened on my driveway, so all the neighbors saw it. They were all, we lived in a little cul-de-sac, so 2 fire trucks and 2 ambulances and a police car showing up, it gets some attention, and everybody's at home. And so, I had neighbors knocking on the door. Thankfully, my family, they came and picked me up at the hospital. There was people coming right away, and oddly enough, there's a lot of people coming down from out of town for this party. And so they were en route and still coming. And so I was dealing with people right away. And then the next day being, the firsts are always hard. And my first was literally the next day was my birthday. And then
Yeah.
New Year's Eve. And then his birthday is January 6th. And then we had the funeral. And so I had a lot of hard days. And yeah, definitely you have people that they definitely don't know what to say, because I don't believe we live in a culture that teaches us how to grieve. And then on top of that, we live in a pain adverse culture. So it gets really uncomfortable because they see that you're in pain. Somebody described to me after they, probably about 6 months after, and they saw me, they said, you were there and you were talking, but there was no spark in your eye. And sometimes you would talk and the sentence would just drift off, and we knew that your brain had taken you somewhere else. And they were like, you just weren't the same person. And it was really hard to see, because you're normally so active and engaged and supportive, and you just were so different. And so people didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to say. And what could they say? Because really the only thing I wanted was Mike back. Right?
Mhm.
So,
But also, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes and empathize on this one, because I know what it's like to lose somebody. But wow, like you lost someone, like with all these people watching, all these neighbors coming outside, and like just and just and then having to explain, and having to, like, all these people en route to be there for that party, to like have to also cater to them a bit, to like, because they're coming in from out of town and for this party. And uh that could have been just such a like
I'm not going to lie, I'm grateful that I went to Costco, because thankfully the friends on the driveway, they unpacked all the groceries and put them in the freezer. And so now I have all these guests that I was like, whatever's in the freezer, cook it.
the silver linings of the worst day of your life. At least I went to Costco and I could feed my guests.
I'm a good German girl. I got to make sure people are fed, right? But it was one of those things, like those early days and moments are when people do step up the most. They show up with food. They show up in ways like, I had people staying at my house every night. I don't know who washed the sheets, but there was sometimes 2 or 3 different people that were staying. So somebody was washing the sheets and making sure the beds were clean, and people were making food, and people were bringing, somebody had set up there's a website called mealtrain.com. Somebody set that up, so I wasn't getting 15 lasagnas on the same day. I was getting the food spaced out, and just, people were really quite gracious in those early days. And usually
It
until
fades
about a
away,
week
though, doesn't it? People
Sorry?
stop. Eventually, like a month or 2 down the road, everybody kind of thinks you need your space, and that's when you need them the most.
Yeah, it's after the funeral, right? A week or 2 after the funeral.
That's what I was saying.
The
We'll
quiet.
get to that in a little bit. It's time for our first break, but
Awesome.
I have other circumstances that I can relate to. But there's so many people that have that get uncomfortable. Like they don't know what to say to people that have lost someone. So like my mother, I February 7th will be the 27th anniversary since her death. Like, so I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, well, it's kind of been okay now. It's been 27 years, but it's a long time. Like I lived longer without her than I did with her, now, like, and then the stuff like that is just kind of like, those first anniversary, like you're saying, are like hard, but then the only reason I recognize the date is just because I recognize the date, but it's not like I don't grieve on that day anymore. In fact, I think I'll be on air or actually running a trauma group or something on the Monday. Anyway, let's do our break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany in just a moment. Please stay tuned. And
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hello, my name is Lucy Lopes, and I'm a real estate agent that supports ending the stigma on mental health with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I am also passionate about helping you buy or sell your home. With times being so difficult, I'm here to help. Contact me at lucylopes.com. That's LUCYLOPES.com. Let me assist you through this pandemic and know that you are not alone.
If you're a show host, gamer, live streamer, podcast host, or radio show host that would like your message to get out and reach up to 30 platforms, then there's an affordable way to do that. It's called Restream. Restream makes it easy to broadcast professional live videos from your browser to multiple social platforms at once. Start your live show with guests, brand it with logos and overlays, and create an interactive experience for your audience. Learn more at Restream.io and mention Moments of Clarity for special offers.
Hi, this is Tiffany Werner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Werner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
Are you looking for a great book? If you like to root for the underdog, Joe Potosi's book is a book for you. A real American odyssey that will grab your attention with its fast-moving narrative. You won't be able to put this masterpiece down. When the Dust Settled by Joe Potosi. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Zulin Press.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hi, and welcome back. This is Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Werner. I am a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And my guest today, we're talking about grief and loss, and she tragically lost her husband the day before her birthday while he was planning a birthday party for her 40th, and had a heart attack while they were preparing for the birthday party. And to lose someone that you love so much, so unexpectedly and suddenly, is very hard. And now she's certified in a grief educator, an international best-selling author. And welcome back to Moments of Clarity, Heidi Dunstan.
Thanks so much.
So let's talk about how you recovered through this, losing someone tragically, and this big ordeal. And we were kind of touching on the fact that everyone's there for you right when you lose someone. Been there, done that. And then a couple of weeks later, they kind of after the funeral, everybody kind of just forgets or doesn't know what to do or thinks you should be okay or whatever. What do you advise people to do in that case?
It's really hard as a griever. it is it's a long journey. I believe that grief is love, and so you will grieve somebody. I will grieve my husband Mike to the last breath I take. I love him. I will love him till I die. And so grief isn't just the funeral is done and gone. And so having people who reach out weeks after, months after, who reach out on the anniversaries or on his birthdays and acknowledge, hey, today might be an emotional day because it's the day that you lost him.
Yeah, I appreciate when people do that for me too.
Yeah,
I'm surprised when people do.
Yeah, and so something as simple as putting that in your calendar to say, hey, today would have been their wedding anniversary. That those are big. And before the break, you talked about like your mom's been gone for 27 years, and that it doesn't impact.
It makes me feel old.
But it doesn't impact you as much. But it could impact you that the year that you turn older than her.
That's kind of creeping up a little bit. Like I have quite a bit to go. It was funny because the doctor had said when she died, she never woke up, and it freaked me out because my dad had suffered from PTSD. He was a war hero, like 3 Purple Hearts. Like when I was a little girl, I couldn't sleep with my parents because he was afraid I was going to strangle him. He'd go sleep on the couch, or that he was going to strangle me. Like the post-traumatic stress and mental health wasn't a big thing back then. So, after she died, he's like, you don't need help. I was like, I think I need to talk to somebody. Why am I not okay with this? And I'm so opposed to be, but that's a whole another story. But that the doctor had told us, my brother and I, this is genetic. So you might, the aneurysm might pass down. So here I was like, I'm probably going to die soon. Didn't pay attention to my credit or anything like that. And then got in a car accident. When they found out that my mom had an aneurysm, they gave me an MRA and they're like, no, you're aneurysm free. I'm like, crap. I better get my retirement in order. And she died at 50. So I got a little bit of ways to go. But when my brother is older than me, he's 49 and he's going to be 50, but he's and then my father was in his early 50s as well. So we'll see. But yeah, that day is going to feel weird because not knowing what you're going to look like, not having someone to look up to, like that's like what I'm going to look like when I'm older.
Yeah, well, it's hard even, I know spouses that, a lady I know, her husband died 12 years ago, and then all of a sudden her birthday came and she was now older, and she was like, I was never supposed to be older than my husband, but he's been, and so she's a grief person. She works in grief, and it hit her. And so grief doesn't.
Was she always planning to have him die first?
Well, I mean, my husband was 24 years my senior, as well. So it was probable that I would probably lose him first, but I didn't expect so soon. And likewise, I mean, we just, even if we know somebody's sick, we don't always expect it, right? We still think that it's really hard to envision your life without them.
Yeah, right? It is. Until it happens. And then there's so many people that I don't know what I would do if I lost my mom, or I don't know what I would do, but well, you just do. You figure it out.
But you have to, it isn't until you actually go through it and you start to see those spaces that they hold in your life, like that person that you text every day, the phone call that you might have while you're driving home, or while you're after dinner or whatever, right? These people that are important to us have places in our lives, and we end up with these voids and trying to figure that out as well. And so it's significant, and it can take a long time. And going back to what you'd asked earlier, like, what do you say and what do you do? And I always say that grief deserves to be witnessed. It deserves to be seen. People deserve to be able to say, hey, I see you. I see that this is hurting you. Losing your sibling is a significant loss. Losing a parent, it's hard. And it's not that you have to say, I'm sorry that you're this way. I'm sorry that it's this way. It's just saying, I know you're hurting, and I don't have any words to make it better, but I don't want you to be alone if you don't want to be.
Yeah, that part about not wanting to be alone. I hated that pity look though, but I was also a teenager. But so sorry. Like, it made me not want to tell people that I had just lost my parents. Like, it made me not want to tell because I hated that reaction of, I'm so sorry. Like, where, because I was in that, the denial, bargaining, anger, depression, acceptance. I think I was angry. So I was in the anger phase just for a while. No, I'm pretty certain I was. And so I didn't want that. Like, I didn't want people to know, like, because I didn't want people to treat me different, but I was a kid. Like, not an adult that wanted support and all that. I just wanted to forget about it. But that was unhealthy. It was unhealthy for me because I was in that anger stage, which is very unhealthy. And there's 5 stages of grief and anger and at-risk youth, which led me to become a therapist and all that stuff and work with that. So all of those bad things led me to what I'm doing today. So I don't know, I think it's serendipity or whatever, but at the same time, so I think it's who you're talking to on what the right things to say and not. Because if it's a child that doesn't want to address it, like, those are the things where you kind of give them a gift or take them to lunch or whatever and spend some time with them or whatever, but not like pity them or anything. We have a caller, Sean. Sean, thanks for calling in. Welcome to Moments of Clarity.
Thank you, Tiffany. Heidi, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
I just want to talk. I'm at work, so I didn't catch every word, everything that was said, but I had most of the gist. And
we're
Tiffany,
talking about grief and loss, Sean. She lost her husband unexpectedly, and we're talking about the right things to say with grief.
Okay. I knew that part, and I'm sorry about the loss of your husband. What I wanted to talk about is the loss of the death of my stepfather, which happened last week. And if you know me, Tiffany knows me. I don't have any sorrow.
No, let me fill that in. He's written a book that was just advertised when the dust settled because his stepfather severely abused him his whole life. So losing somebody that has traumatized and abused you severely is a whole different thing. So, and he died last week. So I think there's some mixed emotions on that of like, not, it's a weird feeling when you're not sad someone died, I guess.
I know it's not normal, but I, in my past, I found forgiveness for what he did to me, and I let go of that. And I need to add the fact that I have not had a relationship with him for a very long time. I've only seen him at family gatherings on his 2 sons, my stepbrothers, would have like a cookout or something, and he would show up. And I was always cordial. And I kept them away from my children their whole lives because of who he is and what he's done, not just to me, but to others. Anyway, what I've discovered, Tiffany checked in on me, are you doing okay? And I was fine, but as time was going on, I find myself angry at a few different reasons. Number one, I'm angry because my stepfather only had 2 sisters that are still alive, and they're like my vultures wanting to get all of his earthly possessions. Now, mind you, they never had anything to do with him as well, but they feel they can stake a claim on his possessions or whatever. And that bothers me because it puts my brother, who's the power of attorney for his dad, in a bad spot. And I feel sad for him that he lost his father, and I feel sad that he's going through all this, basically alone. I've tried to support him and be there for him, but it's a tough situation. And my youngest brother, he's taking it really hard too. And the reason it's harder for them is because they're like 7, 8 years my junior. And when I was going through pure hell with my stepfather, they were too young to understand. They didn't know what was going on. And the older of the 2 held his father to a high esteem. he's his hero, etc. So that's, maybe I shouldn't be angry about how people are trying to take advantage of the situation, but I am. I'm angry because it's putting additional stress on my brothers who are, they've never had to do anything like this before, and not much I can do about it. The other issue, Tiffany, I want to share with you, and you know a little bit about this. So I have a relationship with my mother. Since her son's father died, she had no relationship with him either, right? She wants to go support support her sons, and she expects me to, I don't know, she's conveying a message to me through smoke signals. She needs to ride up to Madison, Wisconsin. She don't drive. And she hasn't called to ask. She's having third-party people calling me to say, hey, your mom needs a ride. I said, I'm not picking her up. That's not my responsibility. But if she really needed a ride, she could call me, and we could try to work something out. And it all goes back to the toxic person that she is. I've cut her out of my life, and I have no regrets about that.
That's okay. That's a different part of grief and loss. Sean, I'm going to kind of keep it short here, but Heidi, do you have any comments for what Sean just shared?
I think there's a couple things going on. One, the reason why I do and teach people how to support people who are grieving is because grievers tend to, when you look on Facebook groups, they talk about they either miss their person deeply, or they're dealing with people wanting and fighting over estates and finances, or they're really hurting by the things that people say or don't say to them while they're grieving. And if I can help with that third one, it's why I do. And I always encourage, and lots of times I met Tiffany on Clubhouse. I do rooms with another woman, and we talk about making sure you have your affairs in order so that people, when you do have somebody who passes, that they know what goes where, and legally everything's taken care of, because it is a nightmare to have to deal with. And when you don't have your affairs in order, it can really slow or hinder the grief process. So that's going on. I do believe, Sean, that you're grieving the loss that you don't have the parents that you have, that you deserved. I had a father, again, who was not a very kind human being. And when he passed, I was 17. And I cried for him, but it was more that I cried for me. I cried for the man that I didn't get. I always had hope that he would step up and be the guy I needed him to be. And there is grief in loss of a dream, and grief in the loss of the fact that we don't get the people in our lives that we deserve. And so I think that's going on. And, it is really common when you've had to set some clear boundaries with family that they don't respect them. And so I'm really proud of you for being able to honor your boundaries with your mom and take care of yourself, because in grief, you need to do that. You need to do what you need to do in this process, and keeping in mind this is only in a week, so there's lots that'll go on. Emotions are still really high, shock is still really high, and my heart goes out to you because the situation is so complicated.
And it's a confusing one. Yeah, that's a great answer, Sean. I hope that answered and helped, and thanks for calling in and for sharing. And it's a very complex situation. It's not like losing someone like your loved one, like someone that I don't even want to say it and then have something happen, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
So take care, and pay attention to those that are there for you and that didn't hurt you, that take care of you and love you, and remember tomorrow's promise to no one, and take care of yourself during these processes too. Okay. But thanks for calling in, and we'll touch base later.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for calling in. And callers can call in and join the call conversation. And in the chat, someone's asking for the call-in number, but it's 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340. Feel free to call in and join the live discussion, and say hi to Ed when you do. 866-826-1340. And I think it's in time for our second break. There's so many ways of grief and loss that are just it's it's nice that you are an educator, grief educator, Heidi. And not only do you know from experience, but that you're there for so many people that don't know what to do with the grief. But I do know that as a licensed therapist, and I'm sure that you know this as well, that pretending that the grief isn't there is the worst thing that we can do. To face it, to acknowledge it, to seek help, to talk about it, because if not, we're not going to heal. And that we're not alone. And we're going to go to our break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. And please stay tuned.
Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner after these messages.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
If you are like most people, you worry with the financial challenges you face today. How do you protect your family from financial ruin? How will you reduce your liabilities and get out of debt sooner? And how can you deal effectively with the constant changes in your job, your career, and your business? Overcoming your financial challenges is like building a house. You must build from the ground up. You must learn how to make more money, save more money, grow your money, and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 basic money skills so you can achieve your dreams and end your worry. Call us today and schedule your complimentary, no-obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns. Call Scott Bigley at 727-422-7761.
Are you having trouble staying sober after you've completed rehab and need a positive environment to help you continue sobriety? At Real Recovery Sober Living, we strive in both community and environment for men in early sobriety to help support you while in early recovery. For only $750 a month, we cover everything you need when it comes to a safe, clean, and accountable environment necessary for success in sobriety. Check out our website at realrecoveryfl.com. That's realrecoveryfl.com. We have 6 locations in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Brandon, North Tampa, and Bradenton, because everyone deserves a quality, sober living.
Hi, this is your host, Tiffany Warner from Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I want to thank you for all your support on ending the stigma on mental health for over the past 7 years and with over 600 episodes, as well as several award nominations and placing as a finalist in 3 categories on the People's Choice Podcast Award last year. If you're listening to this on audio, please visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Moments of Clarity with Tiffany and enjoy viewing previous shows in case you missed any live. If you're interested in advertising and would like to promote your company, it is affordable and an effective way to get your company the attention it deserves. I also welcome potential guests as well, and all information can be found on my website at mocwithtiffany.com. Thank you again for your continued support, as change can only come when we stand together as one. Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician-songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Hello, and welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and your host. Today, we're talking about grief and loss and becoming a victim or survivor, and what to say, what not to say, especially when you've lost someone or a friend has lost someone or you're grieving yourself. And welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, Heidi Dunstan, grief educator.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. It's great to be here.
We're going to get into what to say and what not to say, but we do have a caller. We have caller Julie. Julie, welcome to Moments of Clarity. Thanks for calling in.
Hi, thank you guys. This really has been a great conversation. And as I was listening to Heidi speaking, I have not suffered loss in the recent, but a dear friend of mine has, and I see her really suffering from loneliness. And I know it's nothing I can take away from her, but I wondered if Heidi had any tips.
Yeah, loneliness is a huge part of grief. Grief, I always believe grief is an umbrella term, and it covers a lot of different emotions, and loneliness is one. And the hard part with loneliness is when we lose our person, we have that relationship with that person. Nobody else does. And so that's why things like stillborn loss or miscarriage loss are really hard, because nobody else has a relationship with that unborn child. Only the mother and the father do. And maybe grandparents. It's not as easy. But, for somebody who maybe has lost a parent or a friend or a sibling, it can be, or even a caregiver like an uncle or a grandparent who maybe was really involved in your life. That loneliness piece can be really hard, especially if they've played key pieces in your life. And people need to realize that just can't be filled. You don't just fill it full of sand and pretend it doesn't exist. People move through it on their own. And I always say to people, grief is as individuals our fingerprint. None of us grieve the same. And
Right.
so how somebody else moves through it may not be how you move through it. And so to make sure that we don't judge people, and potentially even finding ways to say, how can I best support you? And it might be that, I hate eating alone, or when I'm driving home, that's when I talk to my person on the phone normally. And so it might be just, hey, I know that they're going to be driving home at 4:00. I'm going to phone them that afternoon and just touch base and change the narrative a little bit for them. And it's not that you're going to fill that void. It's that you're just saying, hey, I see that you're hurting, and I don't want you to be alone if you don't want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Loneliness is so big with grief. And, especially when it's a key person, like a parent losing a child, or losing a spouse, or losing a person, or your best friend, it can be such a significant piece of your grief.
I hope that answers your question, Julie.
Oh, no, absolutely. And, I think that this is such a special topic that nobody really talks about. And I'm wondering, does Heidi have a book or
Yes,
something?
I'm about to get to that.
Or-
So stay tuned, Julie. I'm gonna let you go so we can close up and promote Heidi. We got all of that coming up. She's got all sorts of stuff that we're gonna close up with. But I appreciate you calling in, and first time caller gets a bell. And just keep
Thank
listening.
you.
I got all that information for you coming up. Thanks, Julie. Have a good day.
Julie.
She's beating me to the punch, I'm just saying. Yeah, so you can
got
find
no
Heidi. You can find Heidi on Facebook.com/lean into grief. And I'm assuming that's your group, right? You have an upcoming book on legacy and loss, and it's called How Legacy and How It Helps with Grief.
Correct. So
Right.
basically what I've done is I've created a book. It's hopefully going to go to the editor in the next few weeks. But it's my story about losing Mike and 10 of his friends that lost him. And we talk about how we all moved through grief and losing him, but also the legacies that he's left behind in each of their lives. And there's some common themes, but then there's some really distinct ones. And a lot of people think that legacy are those big namesakes, like building a building and putting the name on it, or a big scholarship. But I believe that legacy are some of the little things. I always plant this flower in my garden because that's what my grandma taught me when I was a young girl. Or I always do this because so-and-so. And those are those legacies that I believe get interwoven into our lives and can really make a difference. And when we can see some of those legacies, I believe that it does help to see and acknowledge that they're still a part in our lives, that these people that we love and miss are a part of who we are and what we do and why we do them. But they don't get acknowledged as much, because I think that grief kind of can overcome it. And because we don't talk about grief in everyday life, it can be overlooked. And so I really would like to shed some light and shine light and teach people to see the legacies of the people they've lost, and potentially even go, what legacies do I want to leave behind with the people that I love?
I love the thought of planting a tree when someone passes, like new birth or new life. But I have a green thumb. I don't have a green thumb, and if the tree failed to survive, I don't know what I do. No, but that's a great idea though, like things like that. And I know you're also on Clubhouse, Heidi. When do you go on Clubhouse and you have the club Lean Into Grief, Lean dash into dash grief?
I do. So I don't have any scheduled rooms right now, but I do pop-up rooms on different types of rooms. So again, topics like getting your affairs in order so that it makes grief a little bit easier, because I can tell you in those early days, weeks, and months, you have to make some tough decisions like, you know, do I do a service? Do I just do a celebration of life? Do I, you know, do I cremate? Do I bury? Where do I bury? If it's a spouse, am I burying with them in the future? There's lots of big long-term decisions you have to make at a time when you're not in your best state. So having your affairs in order is really important. I do rooms on loneliness. Sometimes if I'm feeling lonely on a Saturday, I'll be like, I can't be the only one. And so I'll do a room on a Saturday night when grief often hits a lot of people. I do rooms on being a widow, and I also do rooms on what to say and not to say to somebody who's grieving, because I've yet to meet anybody who's averse to death. And that means all of us will know somebody who is moving through grief. And it's really hard. And people want to find ways to connect more than just the I'm sorry for your loss. So it's a really great room. People come in and say, hey, I'm dealing with this, and we unpack it. And they walk away with some great tools on what to say and not to say, which will be my second book that'll hopefully come out later this year.
That'd be great to say things to say and not to say. My favorite is, my least favorite is that they're in a better place. Like, okay, then help me out. I don't know. I just
definitely acknowledge the person that's right in front of you that's hurting. And it's same as saying, at least you still can get married. At least you can have another child. I believe any sentence that starts with at least doesn't acknowledge the person that's standing right in front of you.
I like when people say, like, I don't know what to say, and I just know that it's a hard time for you, and if you need me, I'm here, and I'm probably going to check in on you, but I don't,
One of the biggest moments of clarity that I had was when people asked me, that people would ask me, how are you? And I always had to lie. And so I encourage people to change the words to say, how's today? Because grief leaves us living in the moment. And when you say, how's today, it allows somebody to be able to say, I'm hungry, I haven't been able to eat because I hate eating alone, or I'm not sleeping, or, I miss my person. It allows them to be really honest with you. So.
Yeah, because every day's different. So how are you? I feel like $1 million. What do you think? I just lost my spouse or whatever. No, nobody's going to say that. But every day is different. You're right. How's today? Can I take you to lunch? Let's just chit chat.
How's today? Can, if you're struggling eating, would you like to come over for a meal?
Mm-hmm.
Or could we bring a meal over to you? What, asking people where they're at, what they need. And
asking, like, because some people don't want that pity stuff too. Like,
you don't.
They want to be treated normal as well.
Yeah.
So,
a few weeks ago, I was at a friend's house and she lost her dog, and pet loss is a big part of grief too. I mean, grief isn't just about death. And so I was at her house. I was actually just leaving to come to Mexico, and so all the dog stuff was hanging up still. And I said, how are you with all the dog stuff? I said, is it bringing you comfort? And she goes, it is. Is that okay? I said, it is totally fine. But I said, if it was hard for you to pack up and you needed help, I'd be honored to help you. But I wouldn't just start packing it up being like, it's got to be hard. I always ask, where are you at? What is that helping you? Because we don't know. Some people don't want to see the stuff and some people do. And so neither one are wrong.
Yeah. And we kind of got to wrap up. It's an end. It goes by fast, I know. And Heidi, thank you so much for being here. I post this show on all platforms. We're live now, but I'll share it. It'll be on all platforms in not too long from now. And if you're watching or listening, please give the show a like. And if you're viewing us on YouTube, or if you didn't know we had a YouTube, Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, please subscribe, because change can only come when we stand together as one. And I'm trying so hard to work with everyone on ending the stigma on mental health. And it's not a one-person team. There's so much mental health globally, and from Mexico to India to Nigeria to Clearwater, Florida, just to name a few. But we're on Facebook and Twitter. You can find all of the links to everywhere Moments of Clarity is at the website mocwithtiffany.com. mocwithtiffany.com. But please share it with your friends, support, and as I said, change can only come when you stand together as one. And not only that, but be kind to yourself and to a stranger. You never know what they're going through. And we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be talking about mental health with Kirkpatrick Miller, and always a great time with him. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, friends. Thanks to callers. And everyone, we'll see you 12 to 1 every Thursday and Friday. And take care. Thanks, Heidi. And
Thanks for having me.
Now I get it. Moments of clarity. To yourself, be kind. It will please you. Don't put yourself down. Time for a change. Believe in yourself. Time to rearrange. Be your best friend. Bring hope to your day. Lose your critic. Get out of your way. Now it clicks. Moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself, be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, you're so alive. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity.